was in the office of the ambassador of Turkey to the United States. So I was watching, along with him, Turkish television and the bridge. So we were aware, as you were, as events were unfolding. And then I was staying in Washington and went to a regular haunt of mine, which is the Four Seasons. And there were a group of Turkish Americans watching coverage. And I then was contacted by a news organization to ask me what I thought, because the U.S. News was reporting that the Turkish president was circling Germany. And I told them that, to me, this looked like a very well orchestrated plot. And I think I was one of the first to mention the possibility that Gulen and his organization may be involved, because it seemed so coordinated and connected to U.S. activity, including the planting of false stories that President Erdogan had left the country. Well, to be very frank with you, as a Canadian growing up in Canada, we had something not dissimilar. We had the imposition of the War Measures Act, where all civil liberties were suspended, where the military was put on the street, and where a number of diplomats were murdered. And I think my mind immediately came to that scenario, and how shocking in the 21st century it was that this organization could mount such an attack. And to be very frank, I felt that there must have been some involvement by foreign agencies as well. It looked too coordinated, it looked too organized, and, you know, quite frankly, the penetration of the Gulenists in the army and the police, all of this had been very well documented, because my firm had been investigating Gulen from before the coup. So we were aware of their attempts to penetrate really every aspect of Turkish society. Look, you know, I have said for a long time to my friends in the United States and other countries that the Turkish people have not been properly acknowledged for their heroism in taking back democracy and their government. And I feel very strongly about the heroics of the Turkish people during that struggle, about the courage of so many who fought, you know, so valiantly in the streets and on the bridges and did everything, as well as many members of parliament from all sides, all parties, who banded together. I think it was a very important day for Turkish democracy, irrespective of any party affiliations. Well, I think that the actions of the people and the use of the internet to literally save democracy should be an important message to the Turkish government and other governments, that we have to keep social media safe, because it is the way that people can communicate in the 21st century, and in situations where you have foreign organizations like FETÖ active. It is a way to keep the people informed and, in a way, in charge. So I think we always have to be cautious in terms of how we deal with the internet, because you could argue that it was social media, it was the president's FaceTime call to the streets that saved democracy in Turkey. Look, let's be clear. We've worked on the issue of Gulen for nearly 6 years. And I think the Gulenists are one of the most dangerous cults in the world. But they're not your normal terrorist organization. They are far more sophisticated. They're far more able to transform themselves into an organization that appears very sympathetic, that appears very democracy-minded and open-minded. I mean, they have this ability to wear many masks, and they've been quite successful in the United States and in Africa and in parts of Europe. And we have a tremendous job to educate people about their danger to democracy, not only in Turkey, but throughout the world. July 15th showed many people the true face of the Gulen organization. And, you know, I would call on law enforcement in the United States, as well as in Turkey, to work very aggressively such that these types of activities, not only the July 15th activity, but the January 6th activity we saw in the United States, needs to be understood and comprehended. I think one of the most important things for your listeners to understand is that January 6th, while it did not have the backing of a foreign government the way July 15th did, was also extraordinarily dangerous for democratic systems in the United States. And this anniversary of the Turkish coup should be appreciated more by Americans in light of what happened on January 6th.